Yeah, I'll check.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the button is. Remember?
Welcome everyone.
Sit here in a drama.
Welcome everyone. We are recording now. It is January 7th, 2025. It's our 9 o'clock board briefing meeting. Let the record reflect that we have all 5 commissioners are present, and we'll go ahead and get started with Ari from WSU Extension. How are you doing? You have someone with you.
You are doing well. Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Get to a positive 2025, huh?
Yeah.
I'm pleased to also introduce our administrative manager, Tammy Wilson.
Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet
Whenever I'm gone or whenever a really hard decision needs to be made, Tammy's the one that makes the call. So I'm here today to request that the commissioners approve an MOA between Spokane County, Washington State University, and the IEBA, the Inland Empire Beekeepers Association. Forgive my voice, I'm getting over one of those nasty flus that I got on an airplane a few weeks ago. The IEBA is not a WSU extension program, but rather is a community partner of Spokane County and WSU Extension. And I knew they'd been around a long time because they were solid by the time I came in 2006. Tammy did a little research. IEBA has been cooperating and working out of the county office since 1980. So we have a long and positive relationship with them. Extension has supported them in a variety of ways, helping them edit their materials, some advertising for them, and we also provide the site for registration. Because they are an independent organization, they come to the office to register. We provide a little technical support for them in the evening. And to give you a sense of the size of this group, last year they had 127 enrollees in their, I guess you could call it their apprentice program. Because after the apprentice program, then they go through what you could, sticking to the terms of journeyman program. The journeyman program is free, the apprentice program has a cost. They deal in pollinators. Some of them are backyard hobbyists that are in districts 1 and 2. So they're in your districts. Others are weekend gentrified farmers, and also there's members that are part of the ag production in Spokane County. It has been informal for a long time, and so we formalized it. The contract that I sent over to Gina has been signed. It's been reviewed and signed by WSU. And of course, I'm ready to sign it. IEBA is ready to sign it, but we need your approval. And we'll reach out to our legal rep in the county to create I can never remember, is it a proclamation or a resolution?
A resolution.
A resolution. To have that, because you have to approve that at your regular meeting next week.
Okay. So, and this is Matt Folsom, who's
That would be me, the
our
legal
new.
rep.
Cool, thank you. So
They're always listening.
They're always around.
It's kind of like your mom. She's always listening. So you want me to send you a copy of the contract, or will that all come over through Gina?
Gina can send it to me.
If not, just give me a jingle.
Yep. you
Are
got
there
it.
questions I can answer?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, I think it's a good thing. I know they're very active at the fair. The Beekeepers Association, they've got a big booth there. You know, and it just seems like more and more people are like more and more people are having chickens, more and more people are having bees. It's just interesting. So it's a good thing.
Very good. Thank you. We're keeping you, actually, we've
Right
given you an
under
extra
5 minutes.
4 minutes, so enjoy it.
Perfect. Well,
Nice to see all of you.
nice to see you too.
Hope I have a chance to come back. We're always happy to brag about extension.
Yes. No, that we may need you to do that. And when are you looking to retire? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, I am closing in on retirement. I will probably declare in a month or so. I've been avoiding it simply because I'm trying to tidy up some grants. And when you're not a short timer, it's easier, it's easier to get those things done. But by summer, I'll be gone. I'm working with Vicki McCracken, the extension assistant, associate professor, who is the topic extension, and then Mike Gaffney, who some of the commissioners have met before,
Yeah.
bumped into him at
at the
Wasatch.
county leaders conference.
And they are aware on the day that I retire, there will be a name. And it looks like we probably will be in a place that I'll be able to do a little cross training with them so they can be tuned in.
Good, good.
Glad you asked that question.
That's exciting. Well, hopefully you'll be back before then.
Oh, that would be nice.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm staying longer than the guy in the corner. I can say that for certain.
Kevin, okay. Chandra, do you want to go ahead and?
Come on, Mary.
Rich is.
Or the
So
two-
we'll just move ahead on the agenda. Chandra.
So I'm actually a member of the IEBA. I'm a registered apiary with the Washington State Department of Ag, so I'm very happy about
Cool.
that. Anyway, right before Christmas, we received the contracts for a couple of grants that were outstanding for us. The first one is our 2023, and yes, that's correct, 2023 Operation Stone Garden funding, and that's the grant that comes through Customs and Border Patrol. This particular funding is generally focused on the air support unit. It provides maintenance and fuel for the helicopter. It also provides some overtime for the helicopter teams themselves, and then if we have any deputies on the ground doing patrol with Border Patrol, then it supports their overtime as well. I don't know why it has taken them so long to get us the 23 contract. It just, for whatever reason, that program is very, very far behind. So, but that was our 23 contract, so you'll be seeing that. And then the other contract we received was our 2024 Emergency Management Performance Grant, and that's our kind of our bread and butter grant that we receive every year. That for us covers 2 FTEs in our office, and then it provides funding for several of our essential programs like our limited English proficiency. And then this next contract that this one will cover, it's gonna help us put on the workshops, the quarterly workshops that we're planning, and you'll be seeing invitations to those coming out as well. The registration for our Cascadia Rising workshop is open, and you'll be seeing that email today. So. Any questions?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, it's gonna take us to Kevin Ritchie.
Good morning. Sorry about being late. It's a delayed. I'm trying to walk out the door. Yes, so the first item is the Sandstone Forensic Consultant contract. This is actually, if you remember last year, we had budgeted for one of our forensics people to be certified in firearm forensics, basically being able to determine if a firearm was used by or a round was used by a certain firearm. And they had to go through this extensive training. That training didn't occur last year. The company that puts it on didn't do it. And so they rescheduled it for this year. And we worked with the budget office to, I believe, encumber the money, if I'm saying this correctly, right? Cover the money from last year for the training for this year with the PO. So this is a PO. Yes. And so this is the contract that's coming, but it's for money from last year. So it's not budgeted for this year. The next one is the patrol tactics consultant. Oh, I'm sorry. Any questions on that first one? So it was briefed a bunch last year, I know, and budgeted last year, and it's a quite extensive program. He's going to be gone for like 3 or 4 months, doing some training offsite. So the next one's our patrol tactics consultant. This is for Brian Moen, who is a former deputy. He's retired. He's been doing a lot of instructing for us, and he's had contracts with us in the past for extra help. He runs our virtual system. And so this is just a contract to pay him for services for this year. And there's a scope of work in the back, and basically he's just going to be developing curriculum and teaching the reality-based training with the virtual system and scenario-based training. So it was kind of his area of expertise, that firearms.
Is he the one that's already out there?
He's, yeah, he is currently
At
out there.
virtual.
He does a lot of instruction with our new hires and setting up, developing training for in-service training.
Out at the training center.
Yeah, sounds right. And then the next ones are, it's a small contract for the, I know we have a nice new range out there, but this, one of the areas, last year we identified that we kind of a shortfall is, long range shooting for the SWAT team. And so we have a small 24-day rate or, contract with FPD for their long distance range. And that's what this is, $3,450 a year. And it's locking the train out there basically. They have kind of an a la carte system and, we used to pay $17,250 and the 24 days seemed to kind of work out for SWAT. That's what we did for last year, so
How much?
it's $3,450.
Yeah,
I thought
it's
you said
3,300.
I thought you said 300.
Oh, gosh, no.
That's why it's like,
Oh, no, I heard 3,000, and when you said that's a
Yeah.
lot, I'm like,
Okay.
geez, is it, Mary?
That's what I
What do you expect them to charge?
My voice is still recovering from being sick about 2.5 weeks ago, so my articulation is off, I know that, so. But yeah, $3,450.
Take that.
And that's it?
very good, I just heard it wrong. So everybody else heard it correctly. Just me.
With the firearms forensic, the first item you did, that it seems like very specialized training. Do you see that individual providing that service for other area agencies? Like, I don't know how rare that expertise is, but is that something you're gonna be able to kind of provide that service?
I mean, without giving, I don't wanna give you an untruthful answer, but I would say probably yes. I mean, we're the only other regional, service out here would be state patrol, right, for forensics. And so we're kind of a regional service. I mean, obviously we'll be, providing it for Spokane Police and the Valley and all the neighboring jurisdictions, but, I'm sure, local or neighboring counties like Ponderay and Stevens and Whitman, I'm sure is gonna use the service as well. So.
And that's something you'd be able to charge for, right? Or,
Yeah, however the billing is, works out for forensics that way, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. No, I just thought you were being fiscally, responsible. Well, yeah, $3,000, that's money, right? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Tell me.
Good morning, commissioners. What do we have? Oh, we've got first the apt tool. This is something that the steering committee, elected officials has recommended for the jurisdictions to use to allocate housing by income band based on the projections coming from the Office of Financial Management. Those of you on the steering committee have seen this in several presentations. It's been through an iterative process with the planning team, the PTAC side. The steering committee made a recommendation to advance this to you for your consideration. And the next slide, please. You can see the, what it is. There we go. The method, we talked about this several times. One was called method A, one was called method B. And then Commerce came out with an A prime, a slightly modified version of A that essentially does not allocate these lower income bands into the rural areas, reflecting the fact that that's kind of a quick benchmark on an inappropriate place to put the rural areas. So the A prime is the method that has been recommended to the steering committee. They are subsequently sending that to you. This is not the allocation themselves. It is only the methodology. What will happen after this is the planning side will take those population projections and the housing allocations that Commerce has suggested, and then we will put them into a matrix by community and suggest that in these income bands, each of the communities will be responsible for a number of units. And remember, that's not saying they have to build actual housing. It's saying your development regs must be such to allow this to happen in your community and prevent it. So what we have before you today is just a quick summary. At your next meeting, we will ask you to receive the steering committee's recommendations, and then on the 21st, sit down and make that county policy. In which case we will then take it back and put that into the machine to keep grinding away on the comprehensive. So happy to take any questions.
I guess my question is more generic, not related to this, but like you said, as soon as we approve this, you'll continue grinding away at the comp plan. What is the sort of calendar timeline look like for the comp plan? Is it still final adoption, middle of next year?
As of today, yes, we are still under the June 30th, 26 deadline.
Okay.
We have suggested through the 11 counties that are in the 26 cycle that we ask for extension to the end of December 2026. Commissioner French has volunteered to run that as a legislative effort with the other counties. And we would expect that since the 24 and the 25 groups were granted that extension, that we would not be, it would be not withheld from us. From Spokane County's perspective, that extra 6 months gives us a chance to really dig more deeply into the development regs to implement the plan. Since we're intending to make recommendations to you that will be fairly innovative and a change of how planning and zoning is done in our urban growth areas. That entails a fairly major rewrite of the zoning code and the development codes themselves, not just a tweaking. And so we would really like to have that extra 6 months to do that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I have reached out to a couple of counties so far and they've said, you bet, we're bought in. I'll be sending out a letter today to the remaining counties so that we have all 11 bought in, but I can't imagine anybody saying no, why not? So, but we just need to go through the step of making sure that we can.
Are there any big counties or is it smaller counties or?
The majority of them are smaller counties. So I think the next biggest one to us is Yakima. And I talked to Amanda, she said, oh, you bet, no, we'll be on board. So predominantly central Washington is the majority of the counties. Yeah. So.
Can you just give a little summary of why the other methods weren't optimal for us? It looks like there's
Sure.
3 or 4 of them, if I'm reading it right.
Sure. The original method A, and the reason it went to prime was that the original method A was by individual municipality's share of each housing ban as it stands today. And that was projected out to 2046 and filled in by the numbers. That also included the rural areas, which subsequently is just like, this doesn't make sense. So let's pull those out and reallocate those to the urban areas. Method B looked at where would these municipalities be in 2046 rather than 2020 and allocate those bands based on their growth rather than their linear trend projection. So it's a fairly slight difference. It changed the county's projection a little bit because the county will be growing faster than most of the unincorporated urban growth areas in the county will likely be growing faster than most of the cities. So it broke apart of what was going in us and moved it back to the cities. Those are preliminary allocations, but once the methodology is agreed to, which the steering committee is presuming the board will do so, then those will become, I don't want to say final, but they will be put in a recommendation for the steering committee that will also come back to you. And then we will use that to look at the land use and other implications of that. This is a unique thing. It hasn't been done. It's a reflection of the legislative act last year to add these income bands for allocation of housing units. It has been, I don't say highly volatile, but it has been a issue of discussion among various communities.
So just to clarify, so A really looks to the future projections from OFM rather than kind of having some weighted look back to the current housing stock or the existing housing stock.
That's fair.
Okay.
If you allocated housing stock by percentage of where it existed today and growth where it exists today and did that 20-year trend line out, it simply mirrors those trends and made those allocations. Whereas B looked at where would you be growing, and those growth bands could be a little different And so it took those growth bands at the end and pushed them backwards and said, let's fill it this way. And B was discarded by the PTAC for reasons that they just couldn't find a consensus, and then came to the consensus on the prime.
I think B, there is a good spreadsheet that had draft numbers.
Oh, yeah.
So we could share that back out again, but B, for instance, in B, you looked at where the different income bands are today. So like, for instance, in the city of Spokane and city of Spokane Valley, there are larger, lower income housing areas compared to, so then they would grow with less affordable, less.
Oh,
So you would, so there, it was a struggle, I think, to think about, would we really not put more different bands within the urban areas? So, yeah, so like it looked at where the actual income bands are today, and then it kind of made adjustments. Is that,
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's a
so it might
complicated
push
system.
more lower income housing into areas that currently don't have any.
Which was in fact the intention of the legislation.
But A just looks at, okay, everybody
A did the
grows
percentage.
in all the income bands
Whatever
into the
percentage you
future.
have now, you'll have in 2046, and B and prime changed that. And it
I think
goes
it's
back
probably
to,
more realistic.
well, it's, the legislature used words from the 1970s. They said everybody has to have their fair share of this housing. And, you know, that was the approach that was used a long time ago. And so it has some emotional baggage to those that have been around a while. But it does look at the difference, you know, is, you know, absent this approach, the city of Spokane is burdened with the vast majority of the low income levels because it's typically where the services are closer. This is a deliberate attempt by the legislature to push those out in some equitable distribution. And again, it's not saying, you know, Liberty Lake must build 200 units of housing in this income band. It said it must have development regs that support that if the market chooses to build it.
The committee looked at all sorts of other options like where transit is or extra, like, what was the other transit? There was another employment,
Centers.
but it was because there's no model for that, you'd have to create a whole model just for Spokane County and build that. And it just seemed a little, I think, overwhelming to our planners to have to do that. We can't just like take a model from another community and
Right.
use that.
That's very much a crystal ball approach. And the other thing about transit, which seems, you know, intuitive to connect these, if you're going to disperse them, Spokane Transit Authority does not yet have those more aggressive routes out beyond the borders of the urban infill areas. And so we would have to work with transit and independent agency, of course, to shift their planning to say in 5 years, we're going to come out here against our typical model. We're going to anticipate growth out here rather than wait for it to happen and then build a line up. So that's why transit sort of fell off the table this round.
Commissioner French.
Well, there's another challenge with regard to the densities around transit is that, you know, the city of Spokane was supposed to develop TOD regulations to support the city line. And, you know, we're 5 years now down the road and they still haven't done that. I fear that it's going to follow the same path as infill development regulations that took 20 years to develop. So in the absence of TOD, it's difficult to develop density around transit, you know, and so that becomes the other challenge that we're going to face.
Would you be willing to just share the chart or whatever
It's
that
like
you
a
said?
chart.
Yeah,
Of course.
be interesting to look at.
They're posted on our web. I'll be happy to send them to you directly after the meeting.
Thank
And this all went through the steering committee of elected
Correct.
officials. So-
Right, there's a letter of recommendation from the steering committee. I don't believe the chairman has signed it yet, but we'll have that signed by the time it gets to you in the week. But yes, it's been acted on by the steering committee. Did you want to get the other
Yes.
item? The second item is hopefully very simple. It is another administrative step in accepting the first half of the planning grant called the PUG, Planning Update Grant from Commerce. Simply the board allowing the chair to sign the contract saying this is our scope of work, this is our timeline for this first half of the contract. And as before, this contract process has been achingly slow. We are, halfway through the first year of this. That said, our consultants have agreed to work at risk. And so they have been proceeding since, Labor Day to move on progress. But this is a step of allowing the chair to sign the contract with Commerce for the first part of our grant, which is $350,000. Thank you, commissioners.
I'm George with this yet. Moving right along. It's gonna go longer. Come on in. Yes, we're ready. We're ahead of schedule, so. Probably if you're ready to go, we'll let you go.
Sure. I just have a quick update on Pine Villa. That's a project with SNAP for a 50-unit affordable housing. Project up on the north side of District 1. So that is basically ready to get contracted out. All the calculations are done on it. It's calculated out to be a grant. They'll give us about $40,000 as a flat cost monitoring fee. And we're going to ensure that for 20 years, they keep it affordable. We're getting 36 units of those 40 units for our county assisted. And it'll be a different mix of 30, 50, 80% area median income tenants. So that's basically the update. We're ready to contract. I've got the contracts in the cubicle.
Is it a new building or?
It's 1971, so it's rehab, and we're paying for, I believe, 60 or 70% of the rehab.
Okay, and where is it again located?
North side of District 1.
It's on Graves, which is about
Yeah, 33.
two blocks, 3 blocks south of Hawthorne. Just off the division.
It's like right where that Y starts. It's like right in between those two roads.
You know where the North County Library is on Hawthorne? It's like 2 blocks south of there.
Okay. So then, like we were talking about yesterday with all our homeless work that we're doing, this is just part of another piece of that strategy.
Yeah.
And so these will be new units, not a new building, but new units as it's rehabbed for people to get into.
Well, it's also that not all of them they're not going to be like completely new construction.
Right, no, but it's additional units that we haven't had in the inventory
Oh, yeah, correct.
in the
correct.
past to be getting, people into.
Correct, yeah.
So, and you said 40 of the units would be
36.
36.
Yeah,
units.
for 20 years. Yeah. And
And
so it's
there-
pretty good price for how many units are
Yeah,
good
no,
for
that's
20
great.
years.
Yeah, there are a lot of things from the '70s, still got a lot of useful things left in them. Just saying.
I love it. All right, no, great. I think that's exciting.
Okay, awesome.
Thank
And I'll
you.
get it up on Civic Clerk for our legislative next week.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
okay, we're ahead of schedule, so Ben.
You guys-
Good mathematics. Perfect timing.
Good location. hear all the shock.
Thank you, Commissioner Sexton, for having us this morning at Newman Lake Flood Control Zone District. This is the standard process to appoint our advisory board. Derek's gonna go through this and explain the process and then our recommendation for appointing a new member for a term that has expired.
Yeah, thank you. So the district is composed of 8 advisory board members, 5 of them voting, 3 non-voting. And so this year we had an expiring term and that person is being re-elected to fulfill another 3 years. And then the open position we had interviewed 2 folks, both residents, seasonal residents of the district. And we unanimously agreed on Doug Luther. We even had a member of the current advisory board sit in on the interviews. And the advisory board has been briefed, they're in support. So the next step is just confirmation from this board. So yeah, we recommend Doug Luther be appointed.
And there'll be a resolution next week for the consent agenda for your approval. All right.
We've done this many times. Regular. It's a regular occurrence.
Just a question. Ron Valencia hasn't applied, has he?
You gotta live in the ditch.
Oh, man.
Getting
You're on the interview.
You already did your 8 consecutive terms.
All at once.
Yeah.
He's always got an eye out for some land out there. He's always looking. He's in the market.
Okay,
very good. Thank you.
well, there you go. Thanks.
Very much.
Appreciate you guys coming there for us. Okay, so that takes us to the end of our scheduled items on our agenda. Is there any miscellaneous items?
I have one, Commissioner Katie.
And then I know we have a closed session.
So the miscellaneous, most of you, I'm sure, are already aware, there's an email that went out last week, but just wanted to let you guys know there is an item on your consent agenda this afternoon for the federal closure that is occurring this Thursday, the 9th. And so similar to what we just did with the Christmas Eve holiday, we are in a similar situation for our offices this Thursday, the 9th. So the consent agenda has the resolution on it that would provide for the 9th, which is this Thursday, to be a one-time holiday for our non-reps and our bargaining employees, following the same process as last time, where in the event of non-rep person would have to work, they would be provided a 60-day floating holiday, and then we follow contract language for any impacted bargaining members. So wanted to make sure you guys were aware that that was on your consent agenda this afternoon and answer any questions that you might have.
It's already bargained for, so this is us doing it for the non-reps. So. Are the courts gonna stay open?
I haven't heard.
Okay.
So if they do, they'll follow the same process that they
Right,
do.
pick a different holiday.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, if you can, I don't know, if someone can find out if the courts are gonna be open. I mean, it's just good for us to know and be aware as people ask what
Mhm.
a closure of the county means.
Yep, yeah. We'll include that in the public release that goes out. So once we get that confirmation from District and Superior, we'll make sure that that's updated just like we did last time. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I see Pat had raised his hand.
Yes, anticipating board action this afternoon, I've prepared a draft news release on the closure and have reached out to Ashley Callan, Deb Geiger, and Jess Ferrari, some of our frontline service units, just to confirm their closure plans. So I will report back to you when I hear from them, but seeking the board's approval to send out a press release on that topic. Okay. Hearing no objection, seeing some head nods. The next item is the draft press release is in your inbox. I spoke with the chair yesterday. I also spoke with Mike Volz, or was in touch with him briefly. I've prepared a press release. You probably saw on the front page of the Spokesman today. They had an article about the process. So I just want to get some information out to local media about the board's action on the acting official appointment. I've had that reviewed. I see Jim Amacio's made a comment, which I will accept in the document. Just noting that it's a local partisan county elected office that is being filled. And then I've also included some background information we've gathered on the appointment process, just kind of the timelines, how it all works. I anticipate there'll be media interest and questions along those lines. And then I also worked with Mike McLaughlin to get the election and filing information in there. So if there are reports on it and there's anybody that is, interested in the vacancy outside of the appointment process, that will be going out to the public. So if you have any feedback, I'd love to see it before maybe noon today. So I have some chance to make some changes before our 2:00 meeting.
Adam was just looking at it and it looks good. Other than one thing I might suggest is clarifying what the acting official is. I think just for the average person, it's not obvious that the acting is different than the on or the final appointment decision. So whether that's just an additional sentence or citing the RCW, it might be helpful to clarify what is acting official.
Good. I can make that change.
Thank you.
Yeah, Pat and I had talked about it yesterday because Pat had already gotten inquiries from some media outlets as to what the process is gonna be and all of that, so since we took action, it's worthy to just get it out there. Okay. Mr. French. Oh. Do you have is your comment new or is this on?
On the press release, I don't know if this is.
Okay.
More of a grammatical thing. Third paragraph down says the process of filling a vacancy in a local partisan county elected office is set forth in the Washington State Constitution. It says at Article 2. Should that say in Article 2? Or I mean, I don't know. It's just something that stood out to me as I read that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that verbiage came from MRSC. I'm looking to Matt to see if
At
there's
Article
any
2.
legal distinction.
That's pretty common when you're referring to a statute. I
Really?
would have
At.
used at.
Okay, all right.
It's like a site kind of.
Okay, sounds good.
Mr. French.
So, with regard to the PFAS task force, I'm going to meet with the parent leaders at this point, this Friday. And we're going to be reviewing both the makeup of the task force, but also the creation of some subcommittees. And I just, before getting into Friday, I just want to make sure that we are all comfortable with, the last list of individuals and stuff. So that I offered up. This was back in November
Right,
of 2024.
yeah.
Yeah, so
None of us have it fresh on our mind.
yeah, well, that's why I'm going to read it to you so that you don't have to rely on them results that might be in jeopardy. And like I say, I got no investment in this other than just trying to do the initial work. Had all three commissioners for the unincorporated areas. And so I'm assuming that Mary does not want to be part of this.
Right, because we determined we don't want to have three commissioners to have it be.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm just confirming because I don't want to get out there and then all of a sudden find out that not everybody's on the same page. That's okay.
Yeah, 'cause
So then,
I think legal didn't want us having three commissioners and have it appear that we were making decisions, so.
no one, from my standpoint. And so I've got just Commissioner Kearns and myself, right? Reluctantly. And since you guys don't deal with wells and PFAS, I've just not had you in the list, but
I would prefer to have rather than just kind of a miscellaneous check-in, to kind of have it presented and have a fuller discussion of it where we can kind of see the list, think about it, rather than just kind of give a quick reaction. I understand you're trying to get prepared for this meeting, so I don't mean anything negative by that, other than I'd like to kind of give it some more thought and see it, think about it a little bit.
So here's the date when I first presented,
No, I remember that.
October 17th.
Yes.
October 17th,
Been a
almost
while.
3 months ago.
Yeah.
How much more time do you want to think?
Well, I didn't know we were talking about it today, and usually if it's a substantive issue, usually
So-
we would see it on the agenda and be prepared when we walk in.
But, okay. So do you want me to bring it up again next week then? What would be your pleasure?
You've got a meeting on Friday, you said?
Yeah,
I mean, maybe you and Chris just get together ahead of the meeting
fine with me.
and have a discussion on it, and then
Yeah.
I think prior to your meeting on Friday,
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea to have legal put together what that scope is.
Yeah.
A draft.
I'll just
Well-
quickly run through the names now, though, just so we know, and
Sure.
if anything jumps out at any of us as being a big red flag, we can say so.
I would love to
And
do
then I
that.
think Commissioner CUNY's idea of you two having a conversation is great.
Happy to do that.
Okay, so at this point, I've got Commissioner Kearns, myself, Jessica Pilgrim from legal, but you know, things have changed since October 17th, so I don't know whether that needs to be Matt or somebody else. I've got, like I say, I've got no investment. This is where we were
I
at on
don't
the
think we were
17th.
gonna have county legal be part of the task force.
Okay, so I get rid of them. All of a sudden, the task force is getting much smaller. I got Ben Bradabo, Jeff McMorris, Heather Arnold, because they represent the grant side of it. John Colton, Dr. Velasquez, Brooke Beeler from Ecology, Chad Pritchard doing the stuff. Fairchild Air Force Base, I did have Jeff Johnson, and they're engaged in another activity, so they're not there. Dan Clark from the Kalispell Tribe, Greg Abrahamson from the Spokane Tribe, or probably his designee, Airway Heights is, I had Larry Bowman, but it's actually, going to be Hank, Leinecker, and then Albert Tripp, and then from Cheney, Mayor Grover. Probably gonna put his Public Works Director on there, which is fine. Terry Cooper from Medical Lake, based upon the conversation, recently, it's now gonna be Marlene Feist representing the city of Spokane. Is that right?
I don't know, I thought you were gonna reach out to her. Is that what we
No,
talked about?
well, I will reach out to Marlene. I thought you would, okay, I'll reach
No,
out.
I had talked to the mayor, who gave me a positive response about the city's interest, but there was a question about what is the scope? And that's what I thought I communicated yesterday.
Okay, so can I take the mayor off the list then?
I wouldn't, I think we
Okay, I'll
could
leave
leave
him
them
on.
on as a
I'll leave him
tentative.
on.
Question mark.
That's fine. Then I got John Hancock with the West Plains Water Coalition, Eco Water Systems, and David Evans. And then S3R3, I got Chris Pingrove. That's the list so far.
Okay.
All right. Can we email this to you?
Sure.
Okay. I can do that.
Would there be any value in someone from DOH, from the drinking water program, or,
Well, that's why I got Dr. Vasquez there.
okay, well,
He's the director.
of the health district,
State
but I'm talking about
Health
the
Department.
state Department of Health.
Well,
I don't know.
I doubt that the state will engage in a local.
Well, they're the ones that have those drinking water grants, and
Yeah,
so,
I thought they did with
anyways.
Yakima. Right?
so
With Amanda.
they may have a different role. I'm not sure exactly
I'll reach out, find out.
who's, if maybe SRHD would be fine, they could communicate, but I didn't know if DOH had a direct.
Well,
Anyway.
well, DOH does have a person, and I've talked to her a number of times, that handles all their grant for filtration systems and stuff. So I can reach out to her and find out whether,
I think they were part of Yakima when they did the presentation at the county.
okay. I'll reach out.
Just a question, and not having given it a great deal of thought before now. today anyway. You said West Plains Water Coalition, right?
Yep.
Are there any other possibilities for kind of community, or I understand we've got lots of government officials, which is good. Neighborhood group, community group, or impacted people, you know, maybe we could think about that piece a little bit more, just so there's kind of a citizen voice perspective too.
Well, the reason why I went to the West Plains Water Coalition is because they've got a distribution system.
Yeah.
Set up for information. The only other organized group out there would be the Palisades Neighborhood Council.
Okay.
But they're part of the West Plains Water Coalition, so I thought I hit them when I did the coalition, but I can reach out to Palisades and see if they want to be part of it too.
Sure. Just another question, and we could meet and think it through some more. Did you have any federal, I'm sorry, any like EPA or any of those folks that you want to invite? And wasn't there some EPA funding that was helping with certain pieces of the impact so far?
No, the EPA, you know, that's the internal memo that I talked about. April 19th, the EPA said it's not a concern from our standpoint, and that's why we didn't qualify for the grants, because they weren't even willing to change their maps so that we were a qualified community. So from their standpoint, they've kind of gone like this and not our problem.
So
I mean, at this point, we're going to be even challenged if we wanted to try and create a Superfund site. You know, at one time, that was an option, is to create a Superfund site to get access to funding. But if we don't meet their requirements with regard to the map, it's going to be difficult to say we're a burdened community. And there's a new director for EPA now too, because Casey Sixkiller now is the Washington State Department of Ecology.
Let's chat more offline. I'm just thinking about, I understand everything you're saying, not just agreeing with the uphill battle as it relates to federal resources.
Yeah.
But it might not be a bad idea to invite certain select folks from that level to keep them informed, and attitudes may change on some of those things. So just an idea we could talk about.
I did think that even though Ecology managed the testing, I thought the funding actually came from EPA, but they didn't have the capacity to manage the testing. So I don't know if that was just a one-off, but I could be wrong on that. So I think it's worth just exploring, even if there's not current capacity.
I'll give Casey a call and see what his recommendation is.
Yeah, and Brooke would have good
Yeah,
thoughts.
and then I have personally talked to Brooke, and she said she will start with the task force, and then depending upon what direction it goes in, we'll either assign it to Bree or one of the other people in her office.
It looks like there was EPA funding for some of the testing, so there's been some connection federally. Anyway, I just want to make sure we don't lose that as we're going forward.
So EPA did come in and helped fund the testing to support the work that Chad Pritchard is doing. So they did do that.
Okay.
But I'll reach out to Casey.
Sounds good.
Well, that was fun.
So I think it'd be great if you guys met. The other thing to think about would be the Kalispell tribe, but you can.
Yeah, I've already got.
Oh, sorry. See,
Yeah,
look
Dan-
at that.
Dan Clark with the Kalispells.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe next week we could put on the agenda, the draft scope and the draft list after you guys meet, and then we could, you know, hopefully tie up this and keep moving forward.
Okay.
Good. But thanks for your work on it.
Yes.
You've been making a lot of calls. I appreciate that. So.
Anything else in a miscellaneous?
Done.
Oh. Scott.
Just one quick thing, commissioners, there's a number of appointments that Community Services is looking for. So as you get a chance to look at the boards and commission appointments for them, they would appreciate it so they can get those filled as well.
Thank you. I think we've got the Public Facilities District too. So I think we may want to, are you,
I was just gonna mention, we had a request from Range Media for the boards. Appointments to external boards and commissions, for commissioners who are serving. I have that list from Gina and we'll provide it today. If anyone has any comments, let me know.
thank you. So yes, I think there's several that are just coming up as the year ended that
Yeah,
we need
there's-
to take a look at and.
I got some emails from Shelley, ones that were specific to my district, I know.
So. Anyway. But except we have a closed session. Labor negotiation.
Yep,
Yes.
yep.
Not mine.
Okay,
What?
fine. Okay.
We have a closed session for labor negotiations, correct?
Okay. So is there anything else that miscellaneous to bring up today? Okay, so with that, then who wants to discuss the closed session?
I believe we are good just going into it, Commissioner.
So we don't have to announce.
Oh, we don't have to announce.
We adjourned this though, right?
Okay, I
Yep,
think
we adjourn
adjourned
this.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. And we don't have to announce the time or any of that on the closed session. Okay.
Nope. Or attendees or anything.
Adjourning this meeting, and then we will be going into a closed session to discuss labor negotiations. And so it is now 9:53, and we are done for this morning on this meeting, and we'll see everybody back for 2 o'clock. Thank you all.